So you've already learned about how to calculate area for different geometric figures. In today's lesson, you're going to figure out how you can find if there's dimensions missing from those figures. So we already have the formulas to solve for area, and it's based upon the type of polygon that you have. And when we were calculating the area, whenever you substitute, you always substitute in parentheses, right? So to solve for missing dimensions, we're essentially using algebra in geometry. So if we already know the area and we don't know one of the dimensions, such as length, width, base, or height, we just substitute in what we do know, in parentheses of course, and solve algebraically for the unknown following the golden rule of algebra. We need to make sure we're still maintaining balance. So if you remember how to solve one-step equations using multiplication and division. For our first example, we have a simple rectangle. The rectangle has an area of 35 centimeters squared. If the length is 7 centimeters, what is the width? So we know the area formula for a rectangle, and that is the area equals the length times the width. We can substitute in what we know. For the area, we have 35, and for the length, we have 7. So setting up the equation, we have 35 equals 7 times the width, W. So now solving the equation for W, we would divide both sides by 7. These cancel out. 35 divided by 7, we have the width equals 5 centimeters. Our next example is a parallelogram. So we see the parallelogram has an area of 45 inches squared. If the base is 9 inches, what is the height? Again, we know the area formula for parallelograms, and that's the area equals the base times the height. We substitute in what we know. We have the area is 45. The base is 9. Setting up the equation, we have 45 equals 9h. To solve, inverse operations, divide by 9 on both sides. Those cancel out. And once again, the height equals 5 inches. Now we have a slightly different parallelogram. Just need to make sure you're paying attention to which dimensions you're given. So we see we have an area of 96 yards squared. In this case, we're given the height. Again, we need to look for the right angle symbol. The height is perpendicular to the base. And we see that we're missing the base here. So if the height is 8 yards, what is the base? Again, the formula for parallelogram area is base times height. Again, we substitute in what we know. Setting up the equation, we have 96 equals the base times 8. Solving for b, we divide by 8, divide by 8, isolate b, and we have b equals 12 yards. Now we have a triangle. So a triangle has an area of 24.8 centimeters squared. If the base is 8 centimeters, again, we're given the base. What is the height? We're missing the height. And remember, the height, again, is perpendicular. And that's given to us by that right angle. The formula for the area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. Don't forget the half. We can substitute in what we know. The area is 24.8. The base is 8. Setting up the equation, we have 24.8 equals 1/2 times 8 times h. Now, solving the equation, again, can't forget about the half. So the first thing we need to do is distribute the 1/2, multiply 1/2 times the 8. So that's going to give us 24.8 equals 4h. Then we have to, inverse operation, divide by 4. And we're left with h equals 6.2 centimeters. Now we have another triangle. This triangle has an area of 11.68 meters squared. We know the height. We see it here. It is 3.2 meters. So we have to calculate the base. Again, we have the same formula. Area equals 1/2 base times height. We substitute in what we know. The area is 11.68. The height is 3.2. Setting up the equation. Now, very important that we take that 1/2 and multiply it by the 3.2. So if necessary, we can use the commutative property if it's easier for you to see. And now we see we multiply the 1/2 times the 3.2. That's going to give me 11.68 equals 1.6b. We divide both sides by 1.6. Solving for b, we get b to equal 7.3 centimeters. So this is how we calculate unknown dimensions.